welcome back to Autumn Chick Inspiring, where today we have a special guest, Rochelle. Welcome, Rochelle,
Thank
to
you.
the podcast. And I want to say, audience, I thank you guys for being patient with me. It's been a minute since I've had uh, somebody on to share their testimony. It's been a crazy busy time with in between, and I'm just gonna hold this up. So yeah, we're back now. We have a couple of more podcasts getting ready to air, and for the first one, we have Rochelle. So welcome, Rochelle.
Thank you.
So Rochelle, I kind of invited you on to talk about. We're in the series of talking about our journey with our recoveries, and where we're at, and how it became of, and so forth. So I wanted to just ask you to share. Um, what was your life like growing up? Are you from Salt River?
Yes, I'm from Salt River. Um, I could say for me, I lived with my mom and dad, with my little sister. Um, I guess pretty much we used to be about family and things like that. And my dad kept us together. Just only us four. It was it was a very small circle every weekend and stuff, and then including our friends. But uh, so my mom roughly had mental. She wasn't mentally stable, and so it was a lot of arguments back and forth as I was growing up, and uh, at the time I didn't know anything, but later on found out it was a very confusing thing. My dad was in recovery himself from alcohol,
Okay.
and my mom was an addict, so it was all under the same roof. Um, Started doing drugs, very young. So
How old were you when you started?
I was 11 years old,
11.
and my mom gave it to me.
Okay. What was the drug?
Meth,
Meth at 11.
yeah.
Wow. Okay.
And instantly, that was, I was already hooked. At a young age, I didn't understand. And but after that, growing up, me and my mom never seen eye to eye. So it was nonstop argument. And throughout the time, I eventually stopped going to school, ran away from home, um, did a lot of the whole robbing my family
Oh, okay.
blind.
Yeah.
Um, to where my dad stopped wanting me around, but he would go and check on me from time to time. That was a lot. That was a lot. I ended up having four kids.
Okay.
And then I did get sober, but I can't really claim it.
Yeah.
Because I always had the reservation,
Okay.
of wanting to go back.
Yeah.
So there was never no certainty that I was going to stay clean. I didn't know the clean and sober.
Would you say it was like I'm clean and sober, but not because I really want it?
It was more like I'm going to keep away the drugs and all that ugly stuff because my kids are around. But I already had that, like, my day, my like the day they either turn 18, I was already,
Okay.
yeah, I was already set forth that that's what I was
Yeah.
going to do. So it didn't work. Um, I had problems with the relationship I was in. Um, Again, me and my mom weren't seeing eye to eye. I also turned to drinking, uh, which had my kids taken in 2012.
Mm.
Um, and that was it. Like, well, I didn't have my kids with me, so now's the time.
Yeah,
So
full blown.
yeah, and throughout the time, my dad had taught us, which I said was a little hectic under one roof with an addict and a recovering. He did teach us a lot of good things, and at the time, I just did not hear it. I just didn't want to, just couldn't. So, growing up, it was like hectic for me. My mom's mental plus her addiction, and then with mine. Um, After a while, it just seemed hectic. And I think that's why I ran away from home.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Do you feel like let me ask you this, like, we start using, you already stated it, like my mom gave it to me.
uh-huh.
As you progressed into your years of even adulthood after your kids, do you feel like your using was because you were hiding from something or you were trying to mask something?
My mom and dad, like I said, didn't really also didn't see eye to eye. So it was a lot of back and forth. My mom wasn't always home herself. Uh, she she would run off too, and then the times so when they had the separations, she still wanted to see us. So my dad would go take us to wherever she was.
Yeah.
If it was nearby, we were able to spend the night with her, and it wasn't a safe environment. So I remember one of the times I did get molested being over there. Um, so it was just a lot of hidden stuff. Then I never shared it with her, or my dad. Uh,
Why do you think you didn't share?
I was scared, um, embarrassed, uh, not sure, didn't know. So it was pretty hectic. There's a lot of things that led up to the continuance. Using everything, um, uh, I just think it was a lot to take in for a young age.
Yeah.
So
So you just kind of just kept going and doing what you were doing, put that
yeah,
on the back burner, and it is what it is.
yeah,
Which is common. Like I feel like people who use and they're masking things, it's like it's put on the back burner. I don't want to talk about that.
yeah,
That don't need to be.
yeah.
Yeah. So let me ask you about uh you already told us about your childhood and how it entered your life. So have you experienced any deep losses or do you experience any deep grieving or anything?
During my addiction,
Now,
and even now,
even in addiction to now, like what is one of, let me rephrase that. Growing up, even in your addiction, did grief or death keep you in your addiction?
I could say yeah. Uh, I could say the death of my dad in 2020. So it happened 2 years before that. He ended up. None of us knew, but he ended up in the hospital, and they told us it was end stage kidney disease, and he didn't even tell us. And that was crazy. They told us that he only had a few months to live, and so we brought him home. And everybody else, had responsibilities, had lives and stuff like that. So I decided to stay home and try to do the best I could, but I was still heavy in my addiction. I didn't know what I was doing, but I did, my best, and I was there. Like I said, the doctors only gave us a few months, but he lasted, another 2 years. And in 2020, he passed away, and that was it. Like I thought, drugs were the thing to get me through it, to help me get through it, and it just wasn't. And so during that time, uh, during that time, I still haven't seen my kids. I still haven't seen my kids in years. Um, and I remember sitting on the porch looking up at the stars. And I was coming to accept the fact that I was never going to see them again. I had I had done a lot of things wrong in my life, and I was coming to terms that night that I was going to be okay with it. Like, this is my life that I chose, and that's it. And like, I was drinking nonstop, nonstop. Like, I was weighing pretty much 100 pounds, and my stomach was like, I was so pregnant. Like, I was so, I go pass out, wake up to drink, and just nonstop. And when I came to terms, or I was trying to accept the terms where I was at, not even a month later, my daughter was getting sent back by a greyhound back to me. And I can't, at the time, I couldn't be happy. I didn't win them through the court. I didn't fight for them. I didn't. And she got off that greyhound to a strung out drunk. And it sucked. It sucked. And I took her on that life with me for a year. And she started hating me, but she had to be there. She started seeing things like now that I had her, I wanted to keep her. And at the time, she was 16. And I was trying to, here I was trying to tell her, no, you can't, no. And even when I knew somewhere that God was telling me, like, that ain't it for you, like, that is not it for you, and bring back my daughter, it still didn't try to change me. It still. And I remember uh I lost a good friend in October 22, and I was still trying to use that as an excuse. um, Drunk, just drinking, drugging. And I remember being at a house, and I looked up, and everybody that used to be at the spot where I hung out was now there. And it just dawned on me, like, it was a really, really crazy feeling that went over me. So much emotions. Like, I was so pissed. I was so sad. I was so ashamed. I was so hurt. And it all just hit me at one time. And I got up and I staggered home that night. And I took it all out on my family. And I ended up back in jail. And that time I was heading to prison. I've been running and everything else for so long that I knew, like, I was looking at prison time. I accepted the fact. So I was in jail, and my daughter came to visit me. And she looked at me and she said, when you get out of prison, I won't be around. I'm going to be gone and I'll never come back. What else could I do? Everything that I've done for her to choose was nobody else's fault but my own. So I had to accept that. And I remember in jail, um, I was starting to hear my dad. I was starting to hear my dad, everything. And I've been to jail plenty of times, but uh, I started to hear my dad, and I kept hearing him say, "Now's the time to be selfish. Now's the time to be selfish." And in there, that's when I met Ramona. She works with me, and I started talking to her a lot. We started, really confiding in each other, and I remember sharing that with her. I keep hearing my dad, and so I was telling her, if just so happens, who's to say, if if I get if I don't go to prison, I'm getting out of here. I'm leaving, and I'm not telling anyone. And it just so happened my court got pushed back. So I was just like, all right, like nothing. And the day before my court happened, they said I was gonna get out. So I was like, okay. I came back to the pod and I shared that with her. And then next thing you know, I got out and I ran straight home. And I left that same day with only the clothes on my back.
Where did you go?
I went to treatment.
Okay.
I went and I didn't tell anyone. I left, and it was the most scariest ride. I cried so hard. It was the most scariest ride. But none of it made sense. None of it. I just remember walking into those doors and so much weight was lifted off. And at the time, I didn't know what that was. I had no clue what all that weight, what the feelings were going through at the time.
Yeah.
So I was in there, and as I started, learning new things and understanding a lot, I realized that I surrendered.
Yeah.
I surrendered that day.
Yes. You kind of make me think about like what you just shared. You're like, my dad died, and then my daughter came, and that still wasn't enough. The saying they tell you is you're not going to change until you're ready to change. It has nothing to do. People say, God, I can't, how can somebody not change for their kids? How can somebody not change? It's true, but it does, our change doesn't come because of our kids. It should, people think, right? Or people say like, you got to do this for your kids, you got to do this. And we teach, or I try to teach, like, you can't do it for your kids, you can't do it for your mom, you can't do it for your dad. You have to choose to do it for you first. And then everything else follows. Everything else will follow. So when you were say your story, that's what that reminded me of. Like, my dad dying wasn't enough. My daughter coming back wasn't enough because you internally were not ready to make that change for Rochelle yet. So that's what that made me think of. You have to surrender that, and you did. That was a lot. So, like, if I was to say, Rochelle, how long you been sober now?
A little over 2 years and 9 months.
Let's go. Dang. What does it feel like?
It feels great. It was like, why didn't I do this sooner?
Yeah.
But I didn't know.
Yeah.
I don't.
And I've been watching, because you're my friend on social media, and I guess you'll probably understand what I'm saying as I tell people, man, getting sober is the best feeling because I get to see the world.
Yes.
I've seen your page. You go on trips to California, you go explore.
Yeah.
And that's the true beauty.
Yes.
Of being able to be sober, because if we weren't, we don't do those things.
Yeah.
You're stuck somewhere, and you're high or drunk.
Yeah.
And so that's amazing to be able to watch that. If in your life now, what is one hard thing that you deal with right now internally? What's the hardest thing you feel you deal with now being sober?
I would say, as of right now, it kind of started a little after I was done with treatment.
Yeah.
So I didn't get to experience the sober living. The next part of
After recovery.
yeah, after treatment, I didn't get to experience that. My mom was now getting very sick, and again, everybody, has families and stuff, and I felt like going home. I needed to take care of her, and I understood, and I've shared all of this with in the place where I was at. I'm gonna be going back to the house where I partied for 20 years, like 20 plus years, and I know that there's gonna be things in there. I know there's still gonna be alcohol. There's still gonna be drugs. My mom was still using, but yet she needed help. So I chose to go home and I started taking care of her. Um, in an instant, like it just seemed overnight, her legs gave out. Her legs gave out, and so she was bedridden. She's been bedridden, and after that, so the beginning of this year, she's been diagnosed with the beginning stages of Alzheimer's.
Wow. Okay.
And you get these emotions like, was it something I did? Was it something I didn't do right? Like, but it's not. It's just natural course. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it got to the point where my mindset goes back to when I was taking care of my dad, where the using and taking care of him. And like I said, growing up, like although I forgave my mom, and everything. I did. But I couldn't. I wouldn't be able to take care of her. And that's what hurt the most. Like I wouldn't be able to no longer full time take care of her. If I did, I would have had to leave my job and everything else, and I just couldn't. And and I love my mom. I love my mom. But when it came down to it, and this is some real honesty, that if it was the other way around, my mom would not have chose the same thing.
Meaning and she would not have chosen to take care of you.
Yeah. Okay. But it wasn't. It is. And I rather put myself first. I need to put myself first. I need to try to break this cycle. So I know that if I did, I would have probably been using again. Yeah. So, I mean, now she's in a nursing home. We see her. We do our best. We to do. It gets tough. It gets tough. We're working with the case managers, the counselors, and right now, what is the hardest part that I'm going through is they say that you get the guilt. You get the guilt of what's reality and what's not being taken. You know, uh, so that's where I'm at. Is just I'm having a hard time because I want to bring her home. I want to take care of her.
Like you mean like the guilt for not being able to?
Yeah.
Because you feel like you're able to, but what will happen if I take this on full time?
Yeah.
I feel like what you said earlier about you kept hearing your dad say it's time to be selfish.
Yeah.
That's accurate, and there's a reason why you probably kept hearing that because it's true in recovery. We have to learn to be selfish with ourselves, not meaning in a bad selfishness.
Yeah.
In a I'm gonna be selfish with my recovery because that comes first. I come first. Nobody comes first. I come first. That's even before your kids, you come first.
Yeah.
So that's good. That's good. So that's so dang. Um, I shared with you earlier like that was probably I was still in my addictions when my mom got diagnosed with dementia and it was one of the hardest things, but yet I didn't know it was hard because I was so drunk. I was still in my addiction, so it was like whatever. I had anger and stuff, and so one of the things I now deal with is the guilt of being selfish in my addictions, not
Mm.
selfish with my recovery. Like you're being selfish in a positive selfishness. I was being selfish in the negative because I didn't want to let go of my drinking and drugging, and I was angry at her, and you know, because her questioning whose daughter I was. What do you mean? Like what?
Mm.
You know, so that's two different selfishness. You have that positive selfishness, and I was just being selfish. Selfish.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about what you do. What do you do for a living?
Um, I work at JTR. I started off as a peer support,
Okay.
and now I'm a BHT,
Okay. What is
and
JTR?
Journey to Recovery. It's
Treatment
a
facility.
yeah, a treatment facility. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I
Dang.
got a glimpse of it when I was in treatment, and it hit like somewhere around. I was, already helping others that came
Yeah.
in, and that's where it hit me. Like I want to help where I got help.
Yeah. What is one of the most rewarding things about your job?
Oh, I could say every day, like when I walk in, um, even when I get yelled at, like you get yelled at, that's so understandable. Like I work with people from the sober living where I'm at to the ones in the city to the
Yeah.
treatment, the classes. Like I think the most rewarding is to be able to wake up to go and help
Yeah.
somebody.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what I say. You know, you can better understand people. I understand where you're at. Like I don't judge nobody. Like
Yeah.
that's most rewarding. It is what it is. So that's good. So now what I'm gonna ask you, um, what is a message you want to give to somebody who may be listening to the podcast, who may have been inspired by your story or anything? What is a message of hope you would want to give them to encourage them um or like you just said, losing people while you're trying to heal yourself. Although you didn't lose your mom, but you had to back away from the responsibility. Most people say, "No, I can't. I gotta do this." No, I can't. What is the message of hope you would like to give to our listeners that are listening that could possibly help them?
I think when you're barely in your recovery, you have no more love. There is no more love. There's no more trust. There's nothing. When you get to treatment, the early stages, you get that time to fall in love with yourself all over again. Learn yourself all over again. Trust yourself all over again. Because when you leave treatment, when you're finally done with it, you'll be able to get a real, at least a little bit
Yeah,
of knowing where to start off with that again because you did it with yourself.
yeah, yeah, yeah. How about if somebody was is watching and just feels like what is something you want to tell somebody watching this that's still out there in their struggle?
Oh, I would say it's never too late. If you wake up, you still have another chance.
Yeah. Surrender.
Yes.
Like you said, you surrender that weight. When you said I didn't know what it was,
Yeah.
it's surrendering. I'm done. Like, I'm done.
Yeah.
Like, let's go. All right. Well, thank you. Thank you for coming on and sharing and being able to be vulnerable and sharing yourself with, people around the world and people who are going to see this. And there is hope. There is hope for you people out there. If any of you are watching or you have people who are struggling in their addictions, I think even my biggest um, advice is to just boundaries. You love people, hold boundaries and pray. I always say pray. I stand strong in my prayer for my loved ones to one day get sober, my son and my kids to be able to stand in a space to where we can all say we are a sober family. my nieces, my nephews, my cousins, my whoever. I know one day that I might not see that day, but I still can hold it in prayer. Just ask God to hear me on that one. But you're struggling. The biggest thing is taking that deep breath and saying it's gonna be okay and moving forward. Um, there's no lost hope in it. We all have a destiny. We don't know where it's at, right? So I just want to thank you for coming on and being an inspiration. It's not that all bad, right?